Now let's open our URL class, as we are going to be creating our new method called getReferURL. So if we go back to our URL class, scroll right to the bottom, and let's create a new. If we create a few new lines so that we can actually scroll up a little bit, public static function called getReferURL. Now this method will simply have one variable called page equals self get param, and we're looking for the specific parameter inside of the URL string, and the specific parameter which we're looking for is login referrer. So if we look at our login class, if we scroll up, you can see referrer has the parameter called assigned to it with the value actually refer. Okay, so we're looking for the specific parameter. Now we return if is an empty page, then we return / page equals, and so actually we can use it in a curly braces, and page variable. Otherwise we return null. So that's our getReferURL. If we go back to our login.php, this second parameter, as you may remember, inside of the login front method is optional, as it has null by default assigned. If we can't find refer, then obviously this second statement will be executed, which means if is an empty URL, in other words, if it found it refer actually in a URL, then return it. Otherwise, return the default URL after the login for the front end. So it's dashboard front, and the default URL for the front end after login is simply going to the orders page, which is also going to be behind the login. So that's our getReferURL. We've got all this saved. It's all fine. Obviously, we've added. Otherwise, obviously, if we can't find the user, then we adding login index and the message validation message to our errors array using add2errors method inside of the validation class. So now what we need to do is to display this error message above the login screen. So where we're going to display this, we're going to display this message above our login field. So opening PHP tag before our input for login email, echo object validate, and we're looking for the login index inside of the errors array. One thing, however, obviously we haven't got validation message for login inside of our message array yet. So right at the end, after the email index, we need to create the new one, login, and this message will simply say username and or password were incorrect. Okay, if we save our validation class, now go back to our page, click on login screen, you can see the validation message has been displayed. If we provide any kind of silly information here, it still stays here because obviously it didn't valid. It hasn't been validated. It has been validated against the record, which doesn't exist on the database. And obviously, if we look at our clients table, and if we click on the browse tab, we see that the MySQL returned an empty result. This is because obviously we haven't got any users on the system yet. So the next step after our login screen, login form, which has now been completed, is to obviously create our registration form, and that's going to happen in the next few videos.